Alright guys, work's out, and had a customer stop in right at the end of the day, and they have a no crank, no start, sits at his house, asked me if I would stop by and take a look. So we're going to do that, and you're coming along. Alright guys, so here we are. It's a 2000 yard machine, MTD, 12.5 horsepower it says. So this is our no crank, no start we just talked about. So I just verified it. You know, sitting on the seat, brake clutch pushed in, PTO's off. It is a no crank, no start, so we'll just start with preliminary checks and make sure the battery's up to snuff. I brought the handy scope on a rope, so we'll start there. Alright, well, first off, this contact on the positive side of the battery looks pretty nasty. So we'll just hook up our test light here if we can, get right on the battery terminal. Guess we can't. So we'll come across both. So I think our problem is evident right here, so we can see the intensity of our light on the battery post. And when we come over to the actual copper lug on the battery, our light is nowhere near bright enough. So it would be my assumption that if we hit the starter button, let's see, we're gonna have to do this with the actually we can go right to the starter and do the same test. So proof of concept there. So my assumption is just quickly we have voltage drop from the post to the stud, and we should be able to prove that up here. So we'll come right up here to the starter, which this is a solenoid controlled starter, so we're not actually going to have any power here currently. The starter solenoid must be somewhere else. So actually we can see the battery right here under the seat, so we'll come right here. I'll take and ground on the engine block. Ground's a ground in this case. And like I say, we've got a nice bright light on the battery stud, but on the terminal it's dim. You see how it's dim? So if I hold the seat down and I go, I don't want to wiggle this too much, and we go on the actual battery lug itself, when we crank it, that light should go out. You see how it's dim? So we've got, you know, voltage drop right there, but when we go on the battery, it's nice and bright, and when we hit the button, it stays bright. But on the actual battery terminal itself, it is dim, and then the light goes out. So that was a pretty quick diagnosis. I guess we can do a proof of concept with the meter, so you can actually see tangible numbers. And it just shows how you can have voltage drop right at a battery post. It's, you know, that's the beginning of the circuit. So we'll show you that. We'll get the voltmeter set up here. And this will give an example too, as far as light intensity, how many volts difference is it. You know, we could easily see that with our bare eyes. So hook up a ground. Get a good ground here. So, see, can you guys see that? So our battery is 12.67, and then we go to the battery cable, and it also reads 12.65 because no current flow, no voltage drop. So let's see, if we had the Load Pro, we could load this circuit. Let's use our test light. We'll apply a 200 milliamp load, and we'll see, so the voltage there, 8.57 volts, and that shows up a dim test light. Oh, I got it behind the seat there so you guys can't see it, but so 8.57 volts with the test light applied. So this is where you could get burned if you're using just a standard voltmeter on the battery cable, 12.65 volts. And I'll show you what happens. Obviously when we hit the key,
What do you mean burn?
Well, you can make the wrong call. You know, you can make the wrong diagnosis, because you could come here and say, you know, for example, like, well, I've got 12.6 volts, so the battery's fully charged, but you'll see what happens when we apply a load. So key on, 12.65, go to crank it over, 2.9 volts. So, but in the same sense, we'll hook it right on the battery terminal, 12.62 volts, go to crank it over, 12.57 volts. So that could burn you in a couple different ways. You could make the wrong call, and if you're hooked to the battery terminal and say, well, my battery's junk, or you could make the wrong call the other way and say, well, my battery's good, I'm hooked to the terminal, battery's good, and you know, senselessly wing some parts in it, you know, wing a starter at it. And I guess while we're here, for the sake of video, you can also see the difference. So I'm going to hook both of these, one to the positive stud and one to the wire, and we should see the difference in voltage. So it's going to be what, like 10 point some odd volts. So right now I've got one wire hooked to the battery post, one hooked to the battery wire. And if you just think of your voltmeter as measuring differential, the difference between the two. So currently, you know, we're at 0 volts. We hold down on the seat. We hold on that seat down. So we'll hold down on that seat. We crank it over, and there we have our 9.5 volts. So that's the difference. That's the amount of voltage drop we have at the battery connection. So I guess with that being said, we've beat this one to death, but easily fixed it in a matter of minutes for a test light. So I didn't bring any tools with me other than a meter. Don's got tools. We'll take that off. We'll clean that up a little bit, and this baby will fire right up. I guarantee it. Well, he's going to grab us some tools, but you know, this just goes to show you can't overlook the obvious. A little grain corrosion, it just creates that barrier, and like I say, you could get burned on this by just looking at your voltmeter. Remember, you got to test circuits when they're loaded. If you, even a 200 milliamp draw like this, you know, made the problem obvious. 7/16. All right, so we've got our 7/16 and another 7/16, so we should be able to fix this. Hey guys, we use the high-tech tools here, and this is the first time for me a double-headed crescent wrench. Not sure the usefulness of it, but and you know, our channel locks and our battery terminal cleaning tool. So technically, so that's it. Simple as that. Proof's in the pudding. I guess just don't overlook the obvious and don't be a parts changer. Winging parts at a simple fix, didn't cost anything, and no parts required. So thanks for watching.